Hello, everyone. This is Bart Sharp, and you are on Becoming Quantum Conscious on United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 107.7 and 105.3, broadcasting out of the beautiful city of New Orleans, Louisiana. And we are on the UPRN Talk Radio website, as well as Roku, Facebook, YouTube, and other internet platforms all around the world. And today I am in France. I've made the transition a couple of weeks ago, and it's nice and gloomy here today. So here I am recording this beautiful show on solar system activations. And I love to do activations. I've been doing them for years. And the difference between an activation and a meditation is a meditation is focusing maybe on nothingness or something, being present with something, whereas an activation is you are inviting, summoning, developing a vibration within you from another source. In other words, we might be doing an activation about our heart or the moon or the sun or a tree and asking that to become alive inside of us, a vibration, so to speak. I've been doing this for many, many years and have found it's one of my keys to getting to a higher vibration. Because I am cultivating new vibrations. And of course, I've been doing this much longer than I knew that it was an activation. For example, I was a reborn Catholic, or no, a late born Catholic, excuse me. I became a Roman Catholic in my 30s for practice for about 10 years. And I found that the Mass was very much an activation for me. Some people would say it would be a prayer, but to me, it was learning to embody the blood of Christ and the body of Christ through the Mass. And all of those things was in preparation to just become that energy of Yeshua or Jesus through eating the wafer and drinking the blood of Christ or the wine and activate that. And also in my Catholic-based years, of course, I prayed with the Rosary. And the Rosary, of course, is an ancient practice going back maybe to Egyptian times. A great book on that would be The Way of the Rose by Perdita Finn and Clark Strand. And there is a practice of doing the rosary and prayer that activates something much deeper intrinsic inside of us. And yes, we are praying to Mother Mary and to Jesus or Yeshua. At the same time, something internal that's connected to something much deeper comes into play. So in my point of view, I can see it as an activation. But I've been practicing it with a lot of different things. One of my favorite ones has always been with trees. Studying next to a tree and asking to connect with that tree. And suddenly a new vibration starts to appear in my body just like that. All of a sudden, something new is inside of me. And as I pay attention and invite that vibration to come into me, concentrate on that vibration, almost like cultivate it inside of me, then it becomes more alive inside of me. It becomes my own communion with this vibration. And through practice, it becomes a part of me. In other words, I do not have to be at the tree anymore to feel the vibration of the tree and reap its benefits. For example, if I am anxious about something, maybe I'm, in an office someplace and feeling something uncomfortable inside of me, I can just visualize the tree. The memory comes back. The tree is more calming than the office. So therefore, I get that benefit. And this is how activations really work. It's almost like they're a vocabulary. And whether I'm learning the vocabulary of the tree or the earth, or a deeper consciousness that is open into my heart, or maybe even the sun itself, I am growing. And each vibration is there. And I really like to think that, before we got into the Christian religions, people like Yeshua or Mary Magdalene, or even before them, they were doing this. They were communing with higher points of view and embodying that, and knowing that when they embodied a higher vibration, they became it, and they could do more empowered things as a result, whether that be healing or bringing a more generative energy to the land by connecting to a source within the earth. All of these things, I think, were part of what the ancients did. And some of the proof for it for me is with the Grotte Saint Baume in the Provence region of France. This would be in southern France. On a cliffside is a magical cave called Grotte Saint Baume. The cave of Saint Baume near Maximilian Saint Baume. And of course, the legend here is this is where Mary Magdalene did her sabbatical at the end of her life. It was her long-term work. She finished everything she needed to finish, teaching people, educating people in southern France, and carrying children that were Yeshua's. All of that done. What do you get to do for yourself but go to a cave and go deeper than you ever have before? And what is deeper? I mean, it's part of it that a deeper sense inside of you starts to open. In other words, there becomes a space inside of you that is growing, expanding, and getting lighter in vibration, maybe going beyond density or going beyond mass in some ways, or at least it feels that way. And the more that you practice that stuff, the body does get lighter and lighter. And this is what, so many people have done over the years. And with Mary Magdalene in this cave, as I went last year, with all the tourists, it's a nice little pilgrimage where you walk up this big long path, about a mile and a half maybe. And you get to the top, and people are taking their photographs and seeing the shrine where this place of mass is, because it's now converted into a church. However, kind of in the back, kind of walk around the altar to a place in the back side of the cave is a little bench. And the bench faces the wall of a cave. And you're just kind of looking up at this cave wall, a few feet higher than you. And for me, I just started to realize, well, this must have been the spot. This must have been the place where Mary spent hours upon hours communing. Because when I sat, I tuned in. And strangely enough, it was one of the only places in the cave that there wasn't people. Everybody was kind of steering away from it for some reason. But when I went in there, I felt like as I placed my intention or attention onto the cave itself, I entered into another reality. Because I think this is what she did countless times. Therefore, through her intention and practice, she created a gateway of some kind. And I think that's how it happens a lot of times. When people pray to high intensity, have high spiritual experiences, it imprints on things and locations. And that was the case here. So as I went into there, I traveled. I traveled into outer space. Now, some people write about this and say, well, she went to the 7 levels of heaven. And that may be true, but from my experience, it was more like going into the cosmos, going into places of other star systems, probably other cultures, other beings from other places, and going out into this expanse. Now, as her attention and awareness went to these other realities, and most likely her astral body traveled to these places, her own physical body changed. The cellular structures changed. The molecular structures changed. Things about her changed. And she developed. She developed into a lighter being that expanded to something much bigger than her body, much bigger than the cave, much bigger than the land of France or the earth or the solar system, but out into the universe. This would be accomplishing something of becoming a rainbow body. In other words, your energetic bodies, which we have 6, when we extend out to the most minute body, which would be the atmic body, the monadic body. There's an atmic and then the monadic. But this would be connecting with the cosmos. It would be connecting to all things, all vibrations. This would be the rainbow body. This is what they said Yeshua embodied. It was a space of nothingness. So, in this cave, Mary Magdalene had that adventure, that journey, and most importantly, that embodiment. And what really confirms this for me, and this is all about a psychic's point of view. There is some history on it, but there's a lot of controversy in the history of Mary Magdalene, and was she at this cave or not at this cave? What I know for certain is that a very embodied person was in this cave. Most likely it was Mary Magdalene, but not necessarily. It could have been somebody else, but they were a highly evolved person. So, the person that was at this cave, the story goes that the skull of this person is now a relic in the nearby church, Maximilian St. Baum, in a place called the Crypt. It's kind of like this underground area within the church, and there is the skull. And when I was there, I felt like the vibration of the skull tuned me into a reality that was very much outer space, almost alien. Not that it was an alien skull, but this was a skull that was part of a body to travel to the farthest reaches. It's kind of one of the last frontiers of consciousness, in my opinion, that we expand out into this. Now, in the book by Claire Hartsong, Anna, Grandmother of Jesus, which so many people have read and enjoyed in my circles, it tells stories about Yeshua in his travels before age 30. And one of those travels, and a big part of those travels, was going to India, where he spent a lot of time in a cave. And we are thinking more year, 2 years, something like that. The problem with Anna, Grandmother of Jesus is it's a very general description. It doesn't give a lot of details because it's a channeled book. But Yeshua spent a lot of time in a cave, and he was guided by a being called Babaji. Now, Babaji is more of an ascended master, and he ascended centuries before the time of Christ. But Babaji is still active. He's still available if you want to dial him up and summon him or invite him into your astral journeys. It's a great thing to do because he is available. I have summoned Babaji, and he does help you go into otherworldly places. So here was Yeshua and Babaji in this cave, and it just kind of makes you wonder, what were they doing? The book is not very clear, but my guess is they were doing what Mary Magdalene did. That was travel to all of these places, expand the body so big that you are in a state of Christos energy. In other words, a light so light, a light so light that has no density, mass, energy. It's complete nothingness. It's just pure lightest of the light. Now, interesting enough, when I travel to the sun and journey within the sun, this is the energy there. And it is often why they symbolize the energy of Yeshua with associated with the sun. Or at least that's how I see that in France, that there is a common connection, Christos energy. So here we go with Christos of the sun, Yeshua, and the lightest of the light. So this has been on my mind in my meditations, and I've been developing a meditation which I call solar systems activations. And the idea is to start to learn to expand our body, beyond the earth, but include the earth, and go out there. And the solar system is kind of our own home. We are part of the solar system, and each planet has a function. And it seems, through my discovery, seems to have a place in our own body where a planet or the sun has a resonance with. For example, the sun would be the heart. And it only makes sense because the heart is probably the strongest vibrational cellular structure we have in the body. It functions very differently. And of course, there's nothing like the sun. At least Shakespeare says that. And Sting, if you like a little history. So this is a great place to start, is with the sun. And each planet seems to have this resonance. The earth is in the second chakra. Mercury is in the thymus, which is a gland right between the heart and the throat. Venus is in the primal brain, back here at the back of the head. This is where fight and flight and the caveman type of mentality is held. But it's been in my discovery or exploration that there's a reality within the primal brain that is quite the opposite of primal. It's highly advanced. It's only appropriate Venus would be there, because Venus is the application of infinite source. It's kind of like the neighbor of the sun. And as we say in France, Yeshua is the sun. Venus is the application of the divine feminine. But in the case of Yeshua, it would be Mary Magdalene. They were that partnership. And masculine is the embodiment of infinite, whereas Venus, feminine, is all the applications that infinite could become. And so when we look at the goddess Venus, it's very much what she is. She flourishes and makes life of all different kinds. So very interesting place to put there. Going beyond that, the earth is in the second chakra, like our home, our base. And Mars is the solar plexus. The solar plexus is very much about doing an action. So a highly developed masculine or solar plexus energy would be divine masculine. However, if it is a unevolved solar plexus and is totally reactionary in emotions, it is more of a degenerative Martian energy. That is why it is so important to resolve emotions and resolve our own issues. So Martian energy is held in the solar plexus. And there's also subtle places within the body that hold this, such as there's an area within the sun that is connected to the amygdala, which the amygdala is right behind the frontal lobe brain up here in the front part. And for most people, they say, well, it's a stimulus of anger and sexual energy. But when we're able to attune that, it changes out of that paradigm. Also, the pineal gland is associated with Chiron, and it seems to open our crown up to a higher calling. There's also an area up here called the core crystalline source, and then another part back here that I call the autistic brain, because this is what I've learned from people with autism. It's that's part of the brain back here, like that little flat spot, not at the top of the brain, but when you go back a little bit, there's that little flat spot where they would put a yarmulke or something if you were Jewish. Right there, that brain, if we're able to clear that, we start clearing our emotional realities. We start thinking a little bit more like the people with autism that are not thinking from emotions. And I don't think, well, or at least for me, I've yet to resolve all my connection with emotions. They still float around my body, but when I activate this place, my body gets a lot clearer. It gets easier. So moving along, the container for this whole brain area, going from the frontal lobe brain to the amygdala, to the pineal gland, to the Venetian energy in the primal brain, the core cosmic source, all of what holds that together is Jupiter. Seems like it's more of a container planet. Holds the big picture, so to speak. Just as Saturn seems to contain the bigger picture in the chest. And Saturn is a very interesting planet because it holds the darkest, but it also moves us to the greatest transitions. And so Saturn represents that moving forward to the next stage. Like as Saturn resolves, we move into the next development of humanity. So that's the first planets. And now we go to the outer ring of planets. And they're a deeper part of the shadow. They're more unseen. So it begins with Neptune, which is our genitals, and which is a very powerful source that is our underlying energy, that when it's developed, it creates something greater. And then connected to our genitals is our perineum, and that's where Uranus is. And this is so much about our shadow. Our perineum holds some of our deepest fears, our deepest joylessness of life. It holds abuse. It holds anything that was really the deep stuff of our shadow. So that's where the perineum reigns. And, we had to get through that deep parts of the shadow to get to the outer realm of the solar system, which should be Pluto. In other words, we had to resolve Uranus and Pluto if we wish to be bigger than the solar system, if we wish to push out into the universe. So Pluto is that. It's the last vestige. And Pluto is held in your fascia. In other words, that place right below your skin where there's a slight musculature of muscles with your skin, but also a highly developed nervous system. So it's only appropriate that this very sensitive place of our skin and fascia is very much associated with Pluto, because when we start to evolve beyond that and start to integrate with our energetic bodies, then we start to go beyond who we've ever been. So that is the planets. There's also places such as the ovaries, which hold a very important ingredient. Now, the ovaries, or for men, ovary spaces, are so important because they create life forms. They're that special vibration that vibrates out and creates a higher frequency of all life. Now, one of the most unseen energies that is everywhere, as in Star Wars or Luke Skywalker, they would call it the Force. I like to call it the starlight or stardust energy. You could even call it the universal field of love. That's what some people have called it. But for today, we're calling it starlight or stardust. In other words, it's a particular energy that runs through everything. And it comes from the vibrations of stars. It comes from our own sun. It's life. And it comes from a variety of places. When we see stars in the sky, their light eventually makes it our way. And it's been doing it for eons. Therefore, it is well penetrated into this reality. So with this activation, which we're going to start, we're going to summon all of these things up. And I'll be using an activation called, in the Alpha to Omega Circle of Possibilities, we generate the sun, for example. And I'm just going to be activating these. And before we start, I would like to tell you that my name is Bart Sharp, and you are on Becoming Quantum Conscious at United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 107.7, 105.3 FM out of New Orleans, Louisiana. So we're going to do this meditation. And if you can't be actively involved, I would say just listen. And this will activate inside of you. But we're basically going to be paying attention to all of these places that I have mentioned as I activate them. And we're going to be activating the body to start opening to these. And this would be a great idea if you like this show, is to listen to the recording and get to this part and listen to it again and again and again and let it get deeper and deeper inside of you until you can do it on your own without the recording. That's the whole idea. What a wonderful opportunity this is my opinion. So off we go. So we place all of our attention into our heart. And we start to visualize the sun right behind our heart. A big, bright sun, so yellow, so dominating. As we ask in the Alpha and Omega Circle of Possibilities, we generate the sun and heart communion. And may all of our cellular structures, molecular structures, space between the molecules, activate with the sun-heart communion. May our heart totally be in communion with the sun, and that they become one. So in the Alpha and Omega Circle of Possibilities, we generate the sun vibration and let it be there. And we ask, what sensory systems can open in us beyond our 5 systems? Because we have a possibility of 360 sensory awareness systems that could possibly start to activate when we bring the sun in. So in the Alpha and Omega Circle Possibilities, we generate the 360 sensory awareness systems that could possibly open as we activate the sun-heart communion. And now we go down to the earth. We ask the infinite intensity of consciousness of the earth to activate. And we ask the second chakra to activate with the earth. In Alpha and Omega Circle of Possibilities, we generate the sun second chakra activation. And feel that groundedness of your second chakra coming alive. And we ask that the sun heart energy be in communion with the earth second chakra energy. And there is a point, a reference point, 1,064 cells that is right in the middle of your second chakra. I call it the core. I call it the, excuse me, I'm having a little, we activate this core source. So we ask that the sun-heart communion with the earth second chakra activate. And in the Alpha and Omega Circle of Possibilities, we activate the second chakra, earth, sun, heart connection. That these two chakras be in communion together, almost like you are feeling them vibrate at the same time. And as you pay attention to both at the same time, that they activate even bigger. In the middle of the heart chakra, there's a place called the golden spot. It is 1,064 cells. It holds our oldest memory of who we are, but also it holds the universe. It's a bright spot. It also resonates with a core place in the sun called Sun City. So we ask in the Alpha to Omega Circle of Possibilities that Sun City, the sun, the heart and the golden spot activate together, and that they may commune with the second chakra and the earth, that they resonate together. And now we're going to add in another planet. We're going to the thymus, which is the gland right above the heart. It's where that little protrusion is on the front of your chest above the heart. Behind that is the thymus. And the thymus communicates all the energy and consciousness of the heart to the rest of the body. It is a communicator chakra. And that is why Mercury is there, because Mercury interacts with the sun very closely. So we ask the thymus and Mercury to be in communion with the heart and sun, that they may activate and be together and also be grounded by the earth. And now we go to the Venus and the primal brain, which is right above the back of your head, in that place where your most oldest memory of brain matter is. So we ask, in the Alpha to Omega Circle of Possibilities, we generate the activation of Venus and the primal brain. And as you pay attention to this, will you allow the complexity of all of what Venus offers the primal brain to start to open to the other side of consciousness with the primal brain? It's no longer in fight and flight. It is into expansion of millions of possibilities. In the Alpha to Omega Circle of Possibilities, we generate all 360 sensory awareness systems that can be activated through the activation of Venus and the primal brain. May those places in the primal brain be activated in that they may connect with the sun, Mercury, the earth, and start opening you to bigger possibilities in your own consciousness. And now we go to the solar plexus, Mars energy. In Alpha to Omega Circle of Possibilities, we generate the Mars solar plexus activation. And whatever emotions that you're feeling now in your core emotions, whether that be sadness, shame, or fear, may they begin to release at a greater way. And everything that you habituated yourself to emotions, can we begin the process of letting that unwind? And that a higher consciousness of Mars in the solar plexus be connected with the sun, be connected with the Venus, the earth, and Mercury. And as you do this meditation, keep your attention on these chakras and the planets, because as we activate them, they will expand. Your job is to pay attention to the energy centers and recognize that there is a planetary connection. So now we go to the throat and to the moon. It's the singular expression, the singular connection. So in the Alpha to Omega Circle of Possibilities, we activate the presence to speak not only our truth, but deeper knowledge than we've ever known before. And may the sun be connected with that the moon be connected with the sun, Venus, the earth, Mars, Mercury, and that the wisdom of all of these planets come forth and be expressed through you. And that would be a greater consciousness, a greater awareness of things that you have inside of you, but your brain hasn't been able to show it to you. May the throat open to that knowledge. And may we have the moon and the sun communion along with the earth communion, because all three of these work together. And let's bring your attention back to the heart, back to the sun. And we ask it to get lighter. We ask that the Christos energy of no density, mass, start to open. That is pure light. It's beyond energy. It's the lightest form of light that goes beyond the concept of energy. Can that start to expand? And can you allow it to go out to these planets that we've activated so far? Whether that be Mars or the Earth, the Moon, Mercury, Venus. Start to feel all of those places in the chakras start to expand. So now we ask that the stardust energy of the ovaries, or for men, ovary spaces, begin to activate. That a particulate energy become alive inside of us. And that our chest area, where the centerpiece is the heart and the sun, have a flow of particulate energy. It's almost as if you're floating on water. You're in the cosmic ocean, and you're floating with these planets revolving around the sun. And we ask the Christos energy, the lightest light, to go into these planets and the stardust energy as you expand to a higher vibration. In an alpha and omega circle of possibilities, we generate the 360 sensory awareness systems that can expand into your body and be activated by these cosmic energies. We don't know what's going to show up in talents and abilities that are new, but we're asking the body to activate them. And now we go up into the head and go to the amygdala, that little bitty place behind the frontal lobe brain. And we ask that the energy of the sun and the sun city, the Christos energy, go into the amygdala. And just visualize sun going into that little bitty place of the amygdala. And if you don't know where the amygdala is exactly, just think of a little bitty place, a little ball, so to speak, right behind your frontal lobe brain. And that's receiving all of this light from the sun. And we ask the 2,222 hertz frequency to activate in the amygdala. May it start vibrating at a higher sequence. The frequencies expand. As we ask the 2222 to activate in the alpha and omega circle of possibilities, we generate the communion of the amygdala, the sun, Christos, sun city, and the 2222 hertz frequency to open and activate. And now we go a little bit farther back in the brain to the pineal gland, and we ask the chiron energy to activate, and that it may begin to expand in the brain. The brain starts to function at a different level. And then a little bit farther back, like right at the top point of the head, and if you went down 2.5 inches, would be the core crystalline source. And we ask that to activate. And the core crystalline source is the reality of angels, the reality of higher forms in the ethers and in the cosmos. All of these higher vibrational societies or peoples out in the universe, they have this pathway to come in. And the last part is the autistic brain. Right in the back where the yarmulke is, we ask this to activate, and that we start to become light. Our whole body becomes light. The emotions start to not be as prevalent in our body. Feel the calm in your body as you activate this brain. And feel the starlight or stardust particulate energy interact with this new autistic brain activation. And feel how this is like a floating in the water, and your whole body is floating in the water. You are on the cosmic sea. And now to help structure and to formulate this together, we ask the presence of Jupiter with the brain. Let this all hold together and activate. The 2222 frequency, the beings beyond our solar system out in the universe, and the higher dimensional realms, the etherical realms, those of angels and highest order of angels and beyond angels, start to come in through our core crystalline source and with the help of Chiron. And all of this connects with the Venetian brain, all held together by Jupiter. So that part is all running great, and the body is running great, and we ask the presence of Saturn to integrate in as the development of our heart, the earth, Mercury, Mars, Venus, the moon come into play. May Saturn start to evolve us to the next level. That we may go beyond the violence in the Arconian and the darker energies and go into a new era. May the light of the cosmos guide us in and cleanse any dark energies in our body that Saturn may be promoting as a old era vibration, and that a new era vibration come in. And now we go down to Neptune and our sexual organs. And may all of what's in our brain, our head that we've activated, in the body trunk or the upper part of the trunk begin to commune with our sexual organs, Neptune, and remember about our earthly embodiment, because the earth in this case is the connection of all of these higher realms that we've activated and taken it to Neptune and our sexual energy, because sexual energy creates the life forms on the earth, whether it be our species or animals or plants. We all have that in common. And so can we connect with that greater whole? And all the sadness and pain and abuse, shame and anger we've held in our perineum that creates the shadow, the pain, the suffering of this world, may we open that up and begin to clear that in Uranus. And we ask the Earth, Neptune, Uranus to begin their development. We no longer have to do things with such anger, force, density, violence, and judgment, but be in the higher realms. So can the higher realms of what we've activated in our brain and in the sun begin to integrate with the Earth, Neptune, Uranus, our sexual organs, our perineum, our second chakra. May they have an integration together. May the light come down into these lower realms. And may the lower realms be expressed in light. In Alpha to Make a Circle Possibilities, we generate and request the great communion and integration of all areas of our body, all planets in the solar system, including the last, Pluto. And may all the vibrations that we've activated extend out into our fascia, right below our skin and every part of our body. May that extend and expand and grow. And just feel that vibration right below your skin, like everything that we've activated with our sun and the earth and Mars and Venus and in the brain, go out to the skin. And allow it to go out to the next astral body, which is the astral body. It's about 2 to 3 inches outside of our physical body. And start to cleanse the emotions there. Any heaviness, any negativity that is existing outside of us, that is a part of us, may it cleanse it. Also in the emotional body and the causal body. These are the 3 bodies that are holding memory of who we are on Earth, our human memory. May they begin to work into that place. So see this vibration that we've activated with the chakras and different energy centers and the planets. Begin to vibrate out 2 to 4 feet outside of your body and begin to change the astral body, the emotional body, and the causal body. And then it extends out to the Buddhic body, and then the Atmic body, and the monadic body. And those are the ones out. So as you do this meditation, you want to extend out farther and farther and farther outside of your body, as if you are extending yourself out through your community, through the earth, beyond the earth, all throughout the solar system. And then start stretching out beyond the solar system. That is the vibration. And we're coming to a close with this. I recommend you come and play with this again if you liked it. But it's coming to the end of the show. My name is Bart Sharp, and you are on Becoming Quantum Conscious at United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 107.7 and 105.3 FM out of New Orleans, Louisiana. And we're really glad that you came on. And next week we'll have Krishna Rose talking about Yeshua and life after crucifixion. So we'll see you later. Have a great evening.